Welcome to the studio. We got a packed show for you, so stay tuned. Sports Talk Live is next. Welcome to Sports Talk Live. I'm Collin Malliet, sitting here with Jon Dorton and Joey Olson. We had a crazy, crazy week in sports, and just what are your thoughts on the matter, guys?
Well, it all started on Wednesday afternoon when it was Game 5 of the ALDS, a winner-take-all. Russell Martin throws the ball back to the pitcher, and what happened was the ball hit a bat, which just caused a run to score. People in Toronto are throwing stuff on the field where the game was delayed about 30 minutes. And later in that half inning, it was the 7th inning, Jose Bautista hits a 3-run home run to take the lead at 6-3. And Twitter just went crazy, saying that was probably the craziest inning that ever happened in playoff baseball. And that's really saying a lot. And then we move on to going on into the weekend on Saturday. There was probably the craziest play that we'll talk about a little bit later that happened. And just everything is going on right now. There's 4 sports that you could watch even starting on Thursday. There's football, preseason basketball even, which starts next Tuesday, baseball, and what can you watch? What's your favorite thing about sports right now?
Well, right now for me, it would probably have to be over across the pond in the Premier League as well as in the Bundesliga over in soccer. Right now, all of the whole table is mixed up in the Premier League. We'll talk about that a little later, as well as in La Liga and the Bundesliga. But right now, it's just chaos over there as well as here.
Yeah, it was a great weekend in college football. Unranked Memphis took care of business against Ole Miss. Utah State kind of handled Boise State this weekend. There's a great finish at the Big House in Ann Arbor, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Overall, just, a little bit of an odd weekend, but very exciting and almost surreal set of games.
There's no really other way to put it than surreal. You can just be watching just about anything.
So we've been touching on college football. That'll be like our first topic, I'd say. What do you guys have on the week in college football?
Well, last week there was a 30 for 30 on ESPN, which talked about the USC days and talking about the fall of that. And one of the games they showed was against USC when Matt Leinart was pushed by Reggie Bush, which calling it an illegal play. And that Saturday, there was an article saying that October 15th, 2005 was the best weekend in college football history. And moving forward 10 years ago to this day, it might have topped it. Just look at the top 10 right now. It's not your grandfather's top 10. Ohio State number 1, yeah, that's probably predicted. But number 2 is TCU, number 3 Utah. Just unreal. And then after the 2:30 game, which Michigan State and Michigan, there was a play, the Mad Hatter, Les Miles, throws a fake field goal, which makes LSU beat Florida, both teams undefeated at the time. You could watch college football from 8 a.m. to about midnight and not be entertained.
Yeah, so Memphis continued their 13-game win streak this weekend. That's dating back to last year. They're probably the only team in the that's not in the Power 5 conferences that put themselves on the map. They just handled an Ole Miss team that was previously ranked 13, and their quarterback is he's a prototypical NFL quarterback. He's 6'7", 245 pounds. Paxton Lynch had a great game. He threw for over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a couple weeks back he threw for over 400 against Cincinnati. So he's really excelling in the spotlight that they've kind of just grabbed, because otherwise nobody would be really paying attention to Memphis. They're a basketball school.
And moving back to 10 years ago, that weekend, which happened where Michigan beat Penn State. There was only 3 national title runners at that time, which Penn State was knocked off that weekend, but pretty much everybody knew it was going to be Texas and USC. Talking about the madness of this, 10 years from now, there's probably at least still 15 teams that can say they have a legitimate shot going into the college football playoff. And we'll bring our predictions a little bit later.
Yeah. Well, you can't talk about college football this week without talking about the unbelievable finish. Michigan State game. Was that the craziest play in college football history?
I would argue that if it's not the craziest play, it's top 3. You know, it was an amazing finish, and as a native of East Lansing and a lifelong Spartan, it was one of the craziest weekends that I've ever experienced. The University of Michigan rivalry is really heated. There's a lot of bad blood. They've been playing for over a century. And in front of 107,000 strong in the Big House, Michigan State took care of business, and it was miraculous. There's no other there's no other way to describe what happened. Like ESPN rated the Spartans' win percentage prior to that final play and put that at 0.02%. Meaning, it was one of the most unlikely things that you could ever see. Like, if anything changes, that game is the game's over. Like, Michigan State sent 11. All he had to do was get the punt off, but there's a botched snap, and it just it happens to fall right for the Spartans. And leading up to the game, just to show how heated the rivalry is, most years there's a little bit of vandalism. This year the Michigan fans spray painted a Magic Johnson statue, maize and blue, and as well as doing a bunch of other stuff on campus. But it just kind of shows that the game is a dividing line within the state. Like you have to pick a side, and it was one of the craziest plays I think I'll ever see in my lifetime.
Definitely in your lifetime for sure. Of course, the play that everybody thought before was the Alabama-Auburn play, the kick 6, where Auburn basically gave themselves a chance to go to the national championship game. Now, the dynamics of that play, where the kick returner sits in the back of the end zone and then runs it back. That happened previously before in college football and the NFL. Of course, the Chicago Bear, former Atlanta Falcon Devin Hester made that famous. So it's something that we got to be reminded of. But that punt, there is no way to put it than I can't believe what I just saw. Similar to maybe Cal Stanford.
Yeah.
Of course, that's the famous call by Al Michaels, but that one for sure was the most unpredictable and craziness, and just to top off our crazy week of sports, and just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Words really can't describe it. So then moving on, what are you guys' predictions for the Final Four in college football? Like right now, do you think it's going to be jumbled up, or do you think the usual suspects are going to stay at the top?
I'd say it's a little bit of mix. Like I would still have Ohio State at 1. Baylor and TCU have been taking care of business. I really like what I saw from LSU this weekend, knocking off Florida. That was a big matchup, and even Alabama, who's lost earlier in the season, came out and took care of business. And if there's a team that I believe could do well starting off slow, it would be Nick Saban and Alabama.
Without a doubt, I'll have to agree with you there, my friend. Alabama, an early loss is best. I actually have them sneaking in like they did in the previous year. And number 2, I'm going to say after that magical play, I know as a relative, a native of East Lansing, I'm going to give Michigan State that number 2 spot. There's always a Big Ten team that will sneak up in this playoffs. I'm a firm believer of that. Number 3, I'm going to go with the winner of TCU Baylor, who are playing in the first weekend in November. I give TCU the edge in that one as well. And then number 4, I'm going with the dark horse. There's a term in college football called Clemsoning, and where Clemsoning is where you have a good team that has a lot of potential where the one year they had Sammy Watkins, DeAndre Hopkins on the same team and probably lost 2 or 3 times. This year, head coach Dabo Swinney really has this team believing. Their toughest road is Florida State, but if they get past that, I can see them going into the playoffs as well. And look out, my dark horse for this year, too, is the Iowa Hawkeyes. They're sitting at number 12 right now, have an easy schedule to go the way out. That hard-nosed team might knock off either Ohio State or Michigan State going on into the year. So watch out for them.
Yeah.
I have a pretty bold top 4 for me. I said TCU, Ohio State, Utah, and Iowa, which you guys kind of touched on Iowa. Ohio State, I think they can still, stay at the top as they usually do. Utah has been absolutely incredible this year, I think. I think that they'll stay in the top, at least the top 3. And then TCU, well.
Real quick, Utah at number 3, I don't see them going out. Well, let's take a look at this week's perfect pets at the Cooley Region Humane Society.
My name is Sissy. I'm a Yorkshire Terrier. I may be 11 years old, but my cuteness makes up for it.
The name is Hollows. What you see is what you get.
Hi, my name is Flash, and I'm a handsome 6-year-old border collie with very good manners, and I need a home.
Hey, I'm Warren. I've only been in this world for 8 weeks, but I'm sure that one of these days my future family is going to come and take me home.
To find out more about adoption for these pets or others, contact the Cooley Region Humane Society at 781-4014.
And once again, the number for the Cooley Region Humane Society is 781-4014, 781-4014. Well, we can move on now. We talked a lot about what went on in the nation. We got to keep it to the great Badger State in the state of Wisconsin. This college football year, unpredictable. And the same goes in Madison, Wisconsin. A Badgers team known for running and grounding and pounding is now a team with a halfway decent aerial attack. They beat Purdue 24-7 on Saturday. What do you guys think of this Badger team so far right now, sitting at 5-2 in the Big Ten?
Well, I think coming into it, a lot of fans didn't know what to expect. I mean, Paul Chryst is he's starting his tenure off at UW, and a lot of the times transitions for coaches aren't exactly smooth. He has to come in and get his own personnel, and this is a drastically different team than we've seen most years. The offensive line, which is historically a great strength, has been a weakness this year. They struggled a lot, and that's not something that we're used to seeing as fans. So it's a little different, but I like what I've seen so far.
Definitely going through changes, I would say. Well, it wouldn't be a Wisconsin football game without a Joel Stavia interception, I always say. He was 30 for 39 with 322 yards and a pick. But like you were saying, the aerial attack really has been stronger this year, and we haven't had to rely on the run. Only 96 total rush yards. I think our most that Odom Wale had was 20-something or 30-something yards.
And there is rumors that Corey Clement is going to get the next 5 games in, so that's definitely a lot of positive things for the Badgers to see. And plus, with not having some stars, there's been a lot of, say, B celebrities on the Badgers that have been going up. And to talk about the other side of the ball, they won't let anybody get yards against them besides 7 points a game. Chris Orr, TJ Edwards have that defense locked down for the next 3 or 4 years.
All right, well, moving on, our next topic is staying in the state, Wisconsin. We had the Packers versus Chargers. Packers improved to 6-0. What do you guys take away from the game?
I've got sympathy for Phillip Rivers. He threw for over 500 yards, no picks, and still comes up with the loss. But unfortunately, he was playing Green Bay, and that's never an easy task. And I really like what I've seen from Green Bay so far. I mean, I'd like to see Lacey obviously come back to form, but Starks played amazingly.
I give credit to Phillip Rivers as well, throwing for over 500 yards as well. But the Packers will let a quarterback throw for about among those yards as long as they get a turnover or two. Clay Matthews rocks Melvin Gordon the first quarter, making that run game all but inevitable that they'll have to use the passing game. And then plus they made one big play on fourth down, and that's all it takes. Dom Capers will let a defense or an opposing offense nickel and dime that defense to death. But in the end of the day, as long as somebody goes and makes a play, that's what that defense is all about, getting a turnover or two per game. And you give
don't
that,
break mentality.
Yep.
You give that defense a chance or two to get a ball for Aaron Rodgers, who is honestly one of probably the best quarterbacks you'll ever see come out of Green Bay. I can't imagine having a quarterback that doesn't perform. As you can see before, I've never had a bad quarterback in my life besides maybe a substitute or two when Rodgers was hurt. But anyhow, there's been a lot of surprises in the NFL this year. What is your favorite one been so far?
I really, really like seeing the Seahawks fail after. I know you're wearing the shirt, the famous blown call on the Fail Mary. But they're 2-4 this season. They're tied for third in the NFC West with the 49ers, who have also been abysmal, but that's a little bit of a different story. Also, another talking point would be the Bills. Everyone thought after they just destroyed Miami earlier in the season, they won 41-14. They thought the Bills were going to be real contenders this year, but right now they're sitting at 3-3 and really have not been the team that everyone was hoping they would be this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a homer point, but I'm disappointed to see what the Lions have done so far. On a more positive note, like some players have come out of nowhere. Freeman has been outstanding. Like I clearly didn't see it coming. I don't know about you guys.
I do have him in a fantasy league, but that's beyond the point. The Falcons right now sitting pretty at 4-1 for sure, and there's 5 undefeated teams in the NFL right now. But some of those teams I'm not worried about playing. I know the Broncos have a good defense. Packers go there in 2 weeks. I think the Packers win by 2 touchdowns there. Yeah. But it's not about the undefeated teams right now, I think, that are scary. The 3-3 Eagles are scary. I don't want them showing up to Lambeau in January. Another team that looks really scary is the Minnesota Vikings right now. Even though AP hasn't been on his game, they have a defense that can swarm around. Adversity in the NFL is almost at its greatest as far as any given Sunday, and it seems to just match that mentality every single year. And an undefeated team might not win the Super Bowl. It might be the 3-3 Eagles who survive in the East, or another team somewhere else, but.
Well, as we keep moving on, we'll be going across the pond, starting to talk about soccer over in Europe. Right now, as we touched on before, the Barclays Premier League in England is just all mixed up with all the teams. Chelsea, who's been a perennial candidate for winning the title, is sitting at 12th this week. Manchester City, Arsenal, and Man United all up top. Manchester City have looked absolutely unstoppable this year, which is as to be expected. They got, I think, second last year. Arsenal wants to think this year is their year. I don't see them winning the title, however. My team, Manchester United, right now, City. Last year at this point, they were 8th place, so a huge improvement. They also look like they could challenge Manchester City for the title. And then in 4th place, we have West Ham, who are definitely a surprise up in the top 4, but not really sure if they can keep it up. Like I said, Liverpool is sitting in 10th, Chelsea in 12th, which are not places that you expect them to be this year. Rounding out number 5 and 6 are Leicester City at 5th and Crystal Palace at 6th, who last year were at 16th and 17th place respectively. Moving over to Germany, in the Bundesliga, Bayern also have been unstoppable. They have 9 wins in 9 games with 27 points sitting at the top. Borussia Dortmund are in 2nd place with 20 points, and then rounding out are Schalke and Wolfsburg, who really, those are the only 4 teams I can see having any sort of challenge to Bayern Munich. And lastly, over in La Liga in Spain, it's just as mixed up as the Premier League is. Real Madrid, Celta Vigo, and Barcelona all have 18 points. Real Madrid's on top of the league with goal differential, and then following that is Atletico Madrid and Villarreal. And that's through 8 games. Madrid and Villarreal have 16 points. It's not going to be a 2-team race in La Liga this year. So what else do we got?
Moving on to the NBA preview. Yep.
Well, the NBA starts next week. The Bucks have their first home game next Wednesday, the first time they'll open up at home in about 10 to 15 years. And what a time for them to open up. And it's something, again, to not forget about with all the other sports going on. Just the energy around that team right now is just phenomenal. Excited to see the young nucleus, the new jerseys, the new court. They are even the first NBA team to have a alternate court being used in 4 to 5 games this year. They even have alternate announcers for 20 to 30 games. Just the excitement around that city of Milwaukee is great, but they have some tough competition in that Central Division in the Eastern Conference. But I can see the Bucks pulling out to be a team starting to be 22-8. Is there a preseason favorite for you guys as far as the NBA, or are you sticking on the Bucks bandwagon?
Well, I made a bold prediction when they drafted Jabari Parker, calling it 2017 Bucks NBA Finals. But we'll see how that goes. We have a healthy Jabari Parker, like I said, this year. Giannis has looked incredible in preseason, as well as towards the tail end of last year. I thought he looked really, really good. And Greg Monroe, the new pickup. And like you were saying, just the energy that surrounds the team this year is it's really, really exciting to be a part of it. And just they look like they're going to be contenders this year, at least for the playoffs.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I can't wait to see Greg Monroe in the Bucks offense. I often felt like he was underutilized in Detroit. He was overshadowed by Andre Drummond. The paint was just, a really packed place, and I feel like with a little bit more space, he'll have the time to flourish.
And I thought being a Packers fan was unfair for these. The Bucks in a few years, they might be an unfair team to follow in the NBA as well. Jump on the bandwagon, folks. Well, let's take a look at what we have going on at WMCM. We have a brand new show called Eagle Nation. Let's take a look.
Hey, Eagle fans, WMCM-TV has a brand new sports show. That's right. Join us every Monday and Friday to keep up to date with all the Eagle athletics. We'll recap highlights, talk to coaches and players, and keep you up to date on what's happening around campus. Pretty cool, right? The show that I'm talking about is Eagle Nation. So join the crew every Monday and Friday at 12 p.m. to talk about UWL athletics. When you think of sports, think of us, Eagle Nation, on WMCM-TV.
Now, time for some odds and ends in the sports world, a few other things. Of course, MLB playoffs are in full swing right now. Almost time for the World Series. Tonight we have Game 4 between the Royals and Blue Jays. Kansas City's up 2-1 in that series. And Game 3 between the Mets and Cubs. And Mets, of course, are up 0-2. Who do you guys got for the World Series?
My heart says Chicago. I want to see the Cubs fans finally enjoy something. As a Lions fan, I know what it's like to be dedicated to a team that struggles and often lets you down. So I would definitely like to see that happen. I don't know at this point that that's going to, but it would be nice.
I've seen a team come down from 2-0 before in a series. There's no reason for Cubs fans to panic just yet. They have 3 games at Wrigley in 3 consecutive days. They're in pretty decent shape there, but on the other hand, Daniel Murphy, the name Murphy has been a thorn in the Cubs' sides for years. The owner of the Billy Goat was named Murphy. There was a Murphy on the 1984 Mets that it was the manager actually. And now Daniel Murphy has been destroying the Cubs, so who knows if Murphy will be on the side of them. But I'm going to go on the other side, even though I don't like what goes on in the AL with the designated hitter year after year. I would love to see the Kansas City Royals go complete their destiny and win a World Series. I've gotten over my sour grapes relationship with Ned Yost. If he got a team with a lot of prospects on that team besides say Ricky Weeks or so, he has a lot of former Brewers like Kane and Escobar playing really well there. I'm over that. I would love to see Ned Yost ride high and win a World Series ring.
Moving on now to UWL sports. Joey, I know you have a lot of information surrounding the teams on campus, so.
Sure, and as an Eagle, you gotta back your school. And there's a lot of exciting things going on in the world of UWL athletics right now. The football team is the first thing that I'd say a lot of college students back when they say for college sports, right? Mm-hmm. The football is probably the most popular. They're 2-4 right now, but they have a lot of winnable games left on their schedule. They play Eau Claire this Saturday, and they have games that they can play well, and they've competed against teams like Stevens Point or Platteville, teams big in the WIAC before. But moving on from football, the volleyball team right now is 16-8 and 3-1 in the conference, one of their best starts to a season in years. And then also the soccer team right now is 12-3, and they haven't lost since September 19th. We should try to find a time to go and get behind these Eagles that are playing, because we have a lot of great athletes on this campus that are doing great things for our university. So I'll say my message to get behind our Eagles.
Definitely. Well, going on from that, I'd say definitely exciting to have teams that are looking like not necessarily contenders, but teams that will be getting wins. So I'm excited as a student to be watching some of these teams. Moving on to more local, we have the WIA playoffs for football starting very soon. John, you're a coach over at Logan.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to work with Coach Noble and Coach Harney this season at Logan and the rest of the coaching staff. And we're a 2 seed going into the playoffs, playing Madison Edgewood this Friday night. And around the Cooley region, we've seen some great football. Onalaska's a 6 seed. West Salem's in the same bracket. Toma in Division II is doing pretty well. And it's nice to see our area represented in the state race. The Cooley region needs to be seen.
Without a doubt, for sure. I'm going to go a little bit east, and my alma mater, Union Grove, they go into the playoffs this year as a 7 seed, but it's their first year that they've made the playoffs in 2009. And as a Bronco graduating from 2012, I am excited to see that. I remember how fun it was to go follow the football team when they were in the playoffs back in the day. And also, I'll have to get a little bit of love for a Badger, Alex Erickson's team, the Darlington Redbirds. They lost in the state title game last year in D5, and they're poised to make another state run. And also, there's a lot of great recruits this year in the state of Wisconsin that Paul Chris should be watching. Guys like Cole Van Lannen from Bayport, who was Alex Ingold's teammate. And then also another teammate on the team, Luke Benschweiler from Grafton, Wisconsin, an inside linebacker that I'm excited to see at Wisconsin. Even if he has to walk on, I think he'll be there someday soon. A lot of great talent in the state this year, which sometimes isn't the case. So I'm excited to see it, and good luck to Logan as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm jealous of you guys as my hometown New London Bulldogs completed yet another abysmal year, if I can call it that. Hopefully things will be looking up in the future, though, but that's all I got. All right. Well, on to some FaceTime. I know we all have rants and raves that we want, so what I have is Cristiano Ronaldo, 30 years old. He just surpassed Raul as the top goal scorer of all time for Real Madrid. 324 goals in 310 games as opposed to Raul's 323, and it took him 741 games, Raul. So we're watching one of the best ever, as well as Manchester United. 3-0 win over Everton this weekend. They're looking wonderful this year. I can't wait to see what the rest of the season holds.
Well, summertime in Wisconsin means county fairs, apple pie, and Northwoods League baseball. I got the honor to work for the Northwoods League champion, and on Monday announced as Northwoods League Organization of the Year, Kenosha Kingfish, out there in Kenosha. And General Manager Jake McGee really has, in 2 years, turned that Simmons Field upside down. They have about 28 people show up a night. I got to say congratulations to that, and I am very proud to be a Kingfish.
Okay, and I just want to say big ups to the Big Ten. Taking back a little bit of little bit of respect. I know the SEC, over the last decade has gotten, most of the attention when it comes to big-time football. But Ohio State's, taking care of business towards the top. Michigan State's doing amazing things. And even the mid-level, not mid-level teams, but the teams that aren't necessarily going to win a conference title are doing big things. Like, who knows how the season's going to end? Iowa's doing, crazy things.
Well, that's just about all we have. This was Sports Talk Live with Collin, Jon, and Joey. Thanks for watching.
Go Rangers.